Or good afternoon, I guess, depending on where they're at, right?
Good afternoon, mostly.
We still got some East Coasters, we got some West Coasters, we got a whole mix. We can see all your faces. Is Romper Room like a Midwest thing from back in the day?
Yeah, it's a Midwest thing.
So,
Romper Room.
Romper Room. Like they used to hold up like a magnifying glass, and the lady that was running the Romper Room would see, I see Roxanne, I see Gary, I see Brent. So we can see out there. Who are you seeing out there? I got to look harder.
Gary Huddy. I don't know. He's in his car in a cave. One of those two. He's hiding out somewhere, man.
I see David Hines.
I like, what is it? Is it Marty? Marty's got the let's go, baby. Let's go. I like Marty. Let's go.
I see Brian McDermott, the GOAT out of Dallas. Sean Archuleta. We got some West Coast in the house.
Yeah, Sean's looking cool with his background there. Look at him. He's got that, He's got that smug look.
I see Larry Nagy. Larry Nagy, good morning. Brian Sellers, President's Club man extraordinaire out in Cali.
We got Gordon again.
Keith Colbert. This cat knocked down a $200,000 sale last month,
Who did?
Victor.
Keith?
Keith did. Yeah, man.
Well done.
Him and Sherman teamed up and killed it.
Well done.
I see Juliette Lee.
Hey, Gordon, I heard you had your knee operated on. Start. Time to act your age, man. Come on.
Back. What's going on with Nikki Euler? She looks like she's in the ghost machine.
I know.
She doing that on purpose?
I got Johnny William Jr. I like when people have to add the junior there. Just go like, Junior.
Yeah, there's Johnny. Oh, there's Miss Cash again. I love that name.
Got some good
Jenny
ones
Cash is back for another visit.
Yeah.
Gary Hubbard's even here. Look at Gary Hubbard. Look at Big Hub.
I love him, man. Look at that. All right, we got some good people here. We got a good crowd here, actually.
Amen.
All right.
Well, let's go. This is version 2, right? So, how's things going with you?
I'm good. Just did an event. Let me see. That's about it. And my messed up finger, that's about it.
You told that finger story.
Yeah, I'm not
not
going into that again. It's just like, it's just not doing that.
He hurt his finger. We'll just leave it at that. But
How are you doing?
We're doing great. More importantly, they're doing great. So really? We just got the numbers for June commercial sales in, and I wanted to share those collectively as a group and then recognize some individual performances for June because it was outstanding. So when you kind of click through these numbers, Victor, our commercial sales for the month of June were up 13%.
Is that good?
That's awesome.
Okay, that's awesome.
We get budgeted like 10% increases every year. No matter how good you do, you get 10% more.
Very nice.
So we had a great year last year.
Wow.
They loaded the wagon again, but these folks got after it. So again, we're on commercial sales.
Did you just say they loaded the wagon again?
They loaded
That's a visual for you. Yeah, they loaded the wagon again, got them sale, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, commercial sales are killing it. National account team sales are smoking as well. That's where the local account managers work with the national account managers and they kind of team sell stuff.
Okay.
That's killing it.
That's nice.
Our commercial gross contract revenue, that's the recurring services, that money that just keeps coming every month.
This right here.
10.6% commercial GCR Advantage company-wide. That's like unheard of. I mean, that's just...
What's the typical average? What's the average?
If you run an 8% GCR, you're smoking it. And we're above 10 for the year.
Nicely
above
done.
10 for the year. So, national account GCR, those charges, up 13.3%. I mean, what's happening out here commercially is just outstanding.
Wow.
Just absolutely outstanding. Nice. Our termite sales are up 16%. These folks contribute some to the termite sales.
Right.
Year over year. Again, just.
So are you seeing, Ed, like, now that we're kind of post-pandemic, are you seeing drop or are you still, these guys are just still holding it up?
So we had a tough first year of the pandemic commercially, right?
Right.
The residential side exploded as we've talked about before. But commercially, we had a tough probably 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
But since then, it's been double-digit growth steadily across the whole footprint.
So they're back.
Boom, 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 boom.
Well done.
And it continues.
And it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Commercials, people leaving the offices, not being there.
We're seeing a little bit of uptick in the bed bug. When people weren't traveling and staying in hotels, our bed bug calls went down because they weren't spreading them around the country. Yeah. We're starting to see that pick up, so that's a good source of revenue for us. So
I don't know if that's good news or bad news. You know what I mean?
It's good news for us.
Yeah.
It's good news for them.
Don't know if I want to travel anymore. I don't know. Could be me.
But more importantly, or maybe most important, is we're converting all that money. Yeah. So we're converting that all to profit. And we had a staggering June profit-wise as a company. And in fact, we were kind of trailing the year-to-date profit plan number, going into June. Sure. And we just had a spectacular June profit-wise across the board. All 5 of our divisions made profit plan, which is kind of an unusual event. Usually 3 or 4 will make it and 1 might not.
Right.
But they all slayed it. So we're back on profit plan for the year. And When we're on profit plan, my
Yeah.
boss loves me.
Yeah.
When we're not on profit plan, he comes
does
looking
love-
for more sales.
So if all 5 of them made it and you hit like a bingo, right?
Yeah.
Do they get anything?
No, they just get paid the commissions on the 10% growth.
I'm just thinking, if you hit it across the board, I mean, I'm looking out for them. I'm not looking out for you. They need more money. Go ahead.
Well, they're looking out after themselves.
I love you. I love you. Just remember, I'm here for you, man. Okay?
Let me share some individual performances because I
do
think
it.
this is kind of neat. On the residential broadcast, we use the perfect mile as $100,000. If they complete $100,000 in a month, we recognize that performance.
Nice.
So what I've done this month, last time on the commercial broadcast, we shared where everybody was at year to date.
Right.
But I thought since I got the numbers late last night that we should share the results of June, and I just picked a number, a barometer of $85,000. So we had 15 folks start $85,000 in production in the month of June.
Nice.
So those 15 folks, our commission scale kind of slides from 15 to 20 commercially. If you start 85,000, you certainly with your salary have clocked in a $15,000 paycheck month.
Oh, really? All right.
15 grand. 15 grand.
15 grand.
Yeah, I mean just outstanding. We had 54 folks start over $50,000.
Right.
That used to be the bar.
Right.
Now it might be 85.
Nice.
So why don't we recognize
Hey,
those?
what do you get at 50? How much do you make at 50?
50 is about 10 or 12 grand, depending on where you're at in that scale.
That's a solid number.
and
That's
what
a
your
solid
salary
number.
is. Oh yeah.
All right. Let's push them up to 85.
That's 6 digits. That's 6 digits annually. So yeah, good deal. So let's share the 85K club.
Let's look at it.
with the folks. Stormy. $57,000.
Robbie, call me. Call me, Robbie. Call me. Okay.
Think about that. I don't know where Robbie's at in the commission schedule, because they kind of build to 20%.
I'm saying that's got to be 30,000 probably, because I'm just doubling 85.
Yeah.
And so, okay,
Yeah.
Robbie, that's nice.
That's a pretty good
sweet.
month, huh?
Man, you got a good spread of people there.
You're talking like a Georgian.
Yeah, just good spread. That's what we got. Got a new spread there, man. So it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's true, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about it on the last broadcast, and it resonates on the residential ones as well. Those top 15 folks, there's 12 different regions represented there.
Very nice.
And I mean, when you look at it, I mean, we got folks from LA to Portland to Boston to Richmond to Michigan to Wisconsin to
Wisconsin.
New York City,
Wisconsin.
to the Carolinas, even all the way here in Atlanta, we got folks,
go.
right? So it's again that message that we tried to share the last time. It's never, ever, ever been the land. It's never, oh, his or her turf's better than mine, or they got a better opportunity. It's all what they can drive out of their little piece of turf. And the old
Tenacity over territory. How's that?
tenacity, I like that.
I think I was going to write that down.
The old Vaynerchuk line, if anybody ever did it, you can too.
Right.
So let's see if you can get to that list. So here's the promise. Now, we're not going to go back and be retro, but if you get to that 85K list next month, this month in July,
Right.
we're going to send you a $100 Amazon gift card.
If they get to 85.
If they get started business. So those of you that look at that number and say, boy, I sold more than that, I did more than that. Remember, I always focus my attention on the dollars that get started net, because that's what hits your paycheck.
Right.
You know, there may be a bunch of folks out there that sold over 100,
Right.
but it hasn't been started yet. So they don't get paid on it. They don't get paid till I guess we get paid, right?
gotcha.
So that's the discrepancy. So on the first broadcast, I had a couple of folks say, "Well, I sold over 85." Again, remember that's started business. That's what hit your pocketbook.
New biz.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I see Brian McDermott sitting there. He sold a $75,000 sale last month. It's getting started this month. So
Okay.
that'll commute over to his check as well. So.
All right. Cool.
I don't know. Anything else? Anything on the individual performances? I thought they were outstanding.
They were
Again,
it was good.
54 people over 50,000, and I was, I kind of creep on most all your group me's if you're not aware of that or not. And I was on the Midwest Commercial Group Me yesterday, and a guy posted up a $100,000 sale. Nice. Jeff Felling made a $100,000 sale. In fact, I think Brady's on the call. I called Brady Renker, his RSM, and what the heck was that thing, right? What it was, he's from the D. He's from Detroit.
Okay.
And Detroit has Chevy, right? They got GM.
Right.
Well, they're building this new fancy schmancy electric Silverado.
Right.
Well, guess what's running around that electric Silverado plant? Rats.
Gotcha. All right.
Rats. So we can't have rats in these $100,000 vehicles.
Right.
So Jeff Felling turned that into a $100,000 sale.
I'd like to know how he found that sale.
I don't know.
How did he prospect on that?
Jeff's been in that market up there for a while, so he's
he
pretty
knows.
tight with that move. I don't know how he got it. Maybe Brady will post it in the chat how he found it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to find out.
But no, just
Great
outstanding.
deal, man. Well done. That's awesome. Sweet.
Just seeing if I got any other notes on this.
Sweet deal.
No, just super cool. Just great results. Company-wide and individual performances just off the charts. Obviously we look for it to continue in July, right?
Yeah. Is your management happy?
My boss is really happy. In fact, my boss hasn't talked to me for a week and a half, 2 weeks. He was on vacation for a little bit, but when the numbers come in that good on the profit side, I never hear nothing about sales.
Excellent.
But the minute we miss a profit plan, everybody wants, where's all the sales at, Ed?
So you get it?
So profit plan means good. Good sales mean commissions. Salespeople are happy. Everybody's happy. So if everybody's happy, I got no choice but to be happy.
That's right, man. That's
Amen.
right. Love
Amen.
it. Love it.
Well, I don't know. We should probably get started with some content. You want to get started?
Let me think about it. Do we think about it? I need to think about it.
Victor, it's been my experience when people say they want to think about it, it comes down to either one of two things. Either you're just not interested, or you're interested, but not sure. Which one of those is it?
I'm interested, Ed. I'm just not sure.
Cool. All right. So that whole role play was based on what we talked about last time we were together.
Right.
The Sales Velocity Academy, where we dove into it and we talked about what do you say when somebody says, I want to think about it. And we went through all the iterations, folding their tent up and say, I'll call you back later. When can I call you? All those weak excuses.
Right.
But what we asked you to do is start to learn how to funnel that down.
Right.
And I'm not so sure that we do it all the time, right? So talk a little bit about how we should be practicing, because here's what I did, Victor. I printed the whole client sales folder.
Yep.
Printed the whole thing. And I have handwritten my scripts out. I've taken Victor's scripts on how to respond to, let's just get a couple for the commercial folks. I'm not ready to commit. Send me a proposal. What do you do when they say send you a proposal? What do you say? If you don't know what to say right now, then you're not trained in this, right? So write this out, script it. I'll get back to you. We're happy with our current supplier.
Yep.
It's more than I expected to pay. So what I've done with all those is I've actually handwritten my responses out and practiced them so that they're mine. They're not Victor's. So the work is here.
Right.
My question is, are you practicing? Are you taking what we're doing and practicing? So talk a little bit about practice.
So, by the way, if you haven't gone into the Sales Velocity Academy, you should check it out. If you have gone, hit me with a 1 on the chat if you've gone into the Sales Velocity Academy. So Client Says is obviously a course where this is all about how do you turn around that objection. For example, let me think about it, send me a proposal, I need to talk to my boss, defer the authority, or I'm currently happy with my current supplier. And so how do you respond to that? So I've worked out scripts, and what Ed's done is that he's taken it and made it his own, and that's what you need to do. A lot of these scripts you should be able to kind of just say, I should be able to wake you out of a dead sleep, give you an objection, and you should be able to say it just as smooth as butter. And so again, take the scripts, work through them. If you're a manager, work with your sales team, just do a lot of role playing. Role playing is one of those things where it's just uncomfortable. By the way, a lot of ones for you guys actually got into the Sales Velocity Academy. Well done. Before I forget, we're going to be doing free master classes now. The next one is tomorrow on getting deals unstuck. I don't want to forget that. So we'll be sending out an email if you haven't got one already. And so on the part of practicing in role play, it always feels awkward, but we know the rule, right? Never practice on your clients, practice with somebody who isn't gonna buy from you. So again, just role play, because the more natural it sounds. I remember there's a guy by the name of Morabian. Morabian said something interesting. To determine whether I like you or not, 55% is body language, the visual piece, right? What I see, whether it's your body language, how you're dressed, which is why you always go in there with the right outfit, right? The second part of whether I like you or not, 37%, is the actual voice, your tone, how you said it. And only 7% is the actual verbiage, content. Now, let me slow this down. 55% is what they see. So do we judge a book by its cover? Yeah. And then 37% is how you deliver it. Now here's what's important. So that's 93%. That's a visual and voice. So let's say you got the visual down. When you say something and you hesitate or you're afraid or you don't have that confidence, people can detect it. How often does it happen to you when you ask a salesperson a question because you're the buyer and then you hear them hesitate like, yeah, it has that. Yeah, we can do that. You're like, something in your brain goes, nah, I don't believe it. But so practice so it sounds smooth. So when you're talking to clients, it's not about thinking, it's just reflex.
Yeah, and I think that whole I want to think about it, we can start with that one, and then,
Right.
and then you can chime it down into all the others, right?
Right.
You know, send me a proposal. Well, you don't want to send them a proposal, right? You want to at least take an attempt to not send them a proposal. But if you start to chunk it down, what you're trying to do is you're just giving them questions that they have to answer.
Right.
Right. If I tell you you're either interested or not interested, which one is it?
You gotta
And you
choose.
have to answer. You have to answer one of those two. So you start to funnel it down so you can really flush out eventually what the real hurdle might be. I don't even know if it's
Right.
considered an objection, but
Right.
but you get to the truth by, instead of like we talked about on the first broadcast, trying to fish to find out, well, what is it? What is it?
Yeah, what do you
Well,
have to think about? They're not going to answer.
And worse, you know, when people say they want to think about it, you know, we get the unpracticed salesperson that, well, what do you want to think about? You know, which we don't want to do. And we went fairly deep on that last time.
Yep.
But let's talk a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish with these broadcasts. And I love the skipping rocks or skipping stones in a lake analogy that kind of explain to them what we're trying to do with these broadcasts.
Okay, so I mean, we're not trying to educate you on these broadcasts. What we're trying to do is what I learned years ago, that when you're just trying to deliver information quickly, you should skip the rock. In other words, we've all done rock skipping, right? And our goal is to actually skip it as much as possible. But when you start giving people too much information, that's almost like turning the rock in and you lose that momentum, which is what we're not trying to do here. We don't want to do that. What we're trying to do is tease it up so you'll go back into Sales Velocity Academy and look at some of these courses. And again, Ed, we know these courses aren't that long. Right. Some are just like 20, 30 minutes long. The videos are short. And you go in there, it's like a toolbox. You got 7 different toolboxes in there: presentation, persuasion, positive mental attitude, again, process, all that stuff's in the Sales Velocity Academy. So go in there, and whatever you're having a problem with, whatever tool you need, just go in there and pull something out.
Yeah, that skipping the stone analogy, I think, makes a ton of sense, right? So, you know, I've got some feedback. You know, I encourage feedback, and so on your group, me post a couple takeaways when you come out here, good, bad, or indifferent. So I got some feedback that you guys aren't going deep enough on these subjects, right? And I said, well, that's really not what we're trying to do. Well, remember, we don't have the time, and I don't think this is the environment to do it in, because people learn different. Like I said earlier, I learn by writing it down on paper. Yeah. I'll watch the videos, I'll write down my scripts on paper, and I'll learn that way. The other thing you've got inside the academy is you've got the books. You can actually, if you're a reader, if you're that kind of learner, you've got that. So I think what we're trying to do with you, again, is just skip the stones, skip the rocks. Maybe tease is the best word for it, to tease you, I dare you to go in there and dig deep. Because, you know, again, I don't do this for a living anymore, but I'm in the dang thing almost every night. You know, my wife's up at the lake, and I'm sitting around here, and Victor says, you really do like watch my stuff? I'm like, yes, I watch your stuff. So, you know, I mean, that's the tease, to try to find some time. Turn off the dang TV. There's nothing on the news worth watching these days. You know, I mean, find yourself 15, 20 minutes, you know, get in, watch a couple episodes, and see what goes on. I think that's the message.
I think the best way of putting it is that we're not training, we're informing. Here's where you can find the stuff you need, and then you guys go at it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of salespeople get kind of well, I don't want anything scripted.
Well,
but I promise you that our stars are scripted. They may not say the same thing every time, but they're saying pretty much the same thing every time. And when somebody says to them they want to think about it, they're not panicking and saying, uh-oh, what do I say? They simply say, you know, it's been my experience, Victor, when somebody tells me they want to think about it, it's one of two things. Either they're not interested, or they're interested, but just not sure.
Yeah, it's
Which
just
one is it?
natural flow, man.
Yeah,
It's-
and just that it comes. And again, that's just practiced. And it's, it's some of that stuff we talked about, blocking objections. This stuff is, maybe it's new to you. Maybe the content's new. The scripts may be new. Again, we're not saying say them verbatim. We don't want you being robots out there. But you should be practiced enough to when somebody says, send me a proposal, you know what
Right
you're
there.
saying.
No hesitation.
Somebody says, I've had the same company for 10 years, I'm happy. What are you saying, right? That's how you become Orkin sales pros, right? That's the folks that were on that list. That's the folks that go to President's Club every year. They're practiced in their craft.
I agree.
We sell a lot of business just by showing up with the diamond and pointing to it on our shirt or our blouse. We just, we're with Orkin, they sign up, right? But what we're paying y'all for is to be the pro, to be the one that says when they want to think about it, that you don't walk out the door and say, okay, when you think you'll have a decision, I'll call you back then, right? That's not what we want. That's not what we're paying you for. That's not how you make $15,000 a month.
That's not going to happen.
No.
And by the way, we got some great comments here. I just want to hit these real quick.
Oh, cool.
Brady Ranker, if I got that right, we were talking about the big earner.
Yeah.
He said, laughing out loud, he found it because he's good. That was the response. He found it because he's good, Victor. That's why. That's why he did it. And then he said, laughing out loud, just being a grinder, staying focused on the larger sales, plus a little competition never hurts. That guy is such a smart ass.
Brady is that way. He's wired that way.
I think I like him, actually. I think I like him. And then
Spectre
Sean Wilson said, whoever asks the question controls the conversation.
Amen. Amen.
Not going to argue with you on that one, brother.
I think you might have said that very thing in the first broadcast.
Could be. But if he grabbed it, it's yours, man. It's yours.
Amen.
But I think that's powerful because I think if you ask the right questions, you remember that little example I do with asking the right questions? If you can ask questions the right way, you can actually guide a conversation. And if you don't believe it, I'll prove it on the next broadcast.
No gray elephants in Denmark.
Yeah, there you
I'm
go.
going to give them the answer already.
There you go. You know what this? So it's about asking questions. So yeah, excellent. I think the other topic we want to talk about as far as
Skip another stone.
Yeah, let's skip another stone, and then we're going to talk about what happens when someone says, for example, I'm happy with my current vendor or supplier. And again,
So let me just tee that up a little bit here, because I think that, because I really want to hammer this home. The folks that don't make it here, that struggle in our commercial sales, you really can't get past that hurdle. Either it's in prospecting or it's at the end of their proposal when they hear it, they're happy with their current vendor. And that's one that you got to figure out some tactics to get by. Because if you pick up the phone, if you're cold, whatever your method of prospecting, email, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you're using, any tool that you're using, you're going to get that response. I'm happy with my current supplier. I already have somebody. You got to figure out what to say when they say that, and it can't be hodgepodge. So I share the one, and then we'll talk about a couple others.
yeah, excellent. So
Because they're going to get this. They're going to get this.
yeah.
If they pick up the phone and call 100 people, they're going to get this 95% of the time.
you know they're going to get it. So again, in the Sales Velocity Academy, look for Client Says. You'll see all the scripts. But here's I'm going to tease you with it so then you'll go in there and look at it. If someone says, I'm happy with my current supplier or vendor, again, agree with them, right? Always move or lean in the direction of the objection. That's one of my favorite phrases. Lean in the direction of the objection. You say, I'm glad that you're happy. And then you say, a la Brian, let me ask you a question. In business, isn't it always good to have options? Now again, 9 out of 10 people are going to say yes. He says, well, that's all we are. We just want to be an option. Or, as you pointed out in the earlier broadcast, we can be a complement to what you currently have. In other words, we can add services that you're currently not using. So the rest of the scripts are in the Client Says course. Check it out, and that's just an example. I think I got like 10 to 12. How many objections I think we got in here?
I think there's like 12.
15. So 15. One is like, we're happy. I'll get back to you. One of my favorites. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Nah. Right now, we're just looking. We're going to get more proposals, things like that. So within the Client Says, I have all the scripts written out for you. And again, all you have to do is organize them and make them yours.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've tried to talk about oftentimes is when they get that, I've got this, you have to anticipate it's coming, right? If you're on the phone, if you're knocking on a door, if you're walking the streets, whatever you're doing, you have to anticipate it. So if I have somebody tell me that I've had the same company or I'm happy with what I have, I know I'm going to get an appointment. Because I'm so confident in what I'm going to say to them. I'm going to use that language to be that second source. Frank Bombera was on the call earlier. The first call. Just a master at being the second source of supply. Those kind of things. I think the other thing too that sometimes you got to be humorous with it, right? I think sometimes we lose humor. Part of my attraction to you is the humor that you bring to how you teach, right?
So let me get this straight so they understand. So you're attracted to me because I'm funny.
I don't know if that came
weird.
out. That didn't
came
come
out wrong.
That did not
totally
come
wrong.
out right.
It's called the wife, dear wife.
That did not come out right. But what I'm saying is, I've had the same company. Well, that's why I'm calling you. You haven't called me in like 3 years, and I've been waiting for your call, and you're not calling, so I figured you might have some level of satisfaction. So have some fun with it, right? I think too often we get so wrapped around the axle trying to get appointments that we just press too hard.
Yeah,
we press too hard.
I remember reading Robert Cialdini's book called Influence, and Influence was really interesting because it talked about the rule of association, and that is, now put yourself in this frame, because this goes to what Ed was saying about humor, is that when you're around somebody and they listen or make you feel good because of great conversation, you associate that good feeling with that person, which means you don't mind when they call you again. How many of you have been in a conversation, right? You've been in a conversation and like 2 hours blew by, right? Could be a customer, just a personal conversation. 2 hours blew by. I guarantee you that, especially if it was a personal conversation, those 2 hours blew by because you were doing most of the talking and the person was listening and really just asking good questions, right? Just to keep the momentum going. So again, being a good conversationalist, being a good listener, that's the toughest part, because the problem with listening is that we talk at about 150 to 300 words per minute. I'm probably closer to 300, right? But our brain processes at 600 to 800 words per minute. So you see the problem, right? People are talking slower, but our brain is just spinning, which is why sometimes you're like, hurry up, finish, I know what I need to say. And you're waiting, you're not listening, you're just waiting to speak. And I think it's hard to slow down. But remember that old saying, Ed, you got to slow down to speed up when it comes to closing a sale, which is listen more, have a sense of humor, try to connect, wrap that all together, and people want to be around you. Rule of association.
Amen, amen.
Yep.
I want to skip maybe one or two more stones.
Sure.
Again, we're just skipping one more stone. This stone I want to skip here is the triple cheeseburger that was kind of Victor's calling card when I first started bringing him out in front of working groups, and he shared it with our advanced classes 10, 11 years ago in the Atlantic Division when I was the division sales manager. And it has to do with the triple cheeseburger and the options. And I think it's really important for our commercial folks to not get hung up on just pitching one service. And so talk a little bit about the cheeseburgers and the Sonoma thing and all that.
Yeah, and so there's really two ways to approach selling, right? We talked about this earlier. One is the options, right? So Sonoma Williams had a bread maker. It was like $279, something like that, right? And so they're selling these bread makers. And then after a while, they noticed that, like anything else, sales went flat. So then they said, hey, let's move up market, make a more luxurious bread maker. And they priced it at $479. I remember there was a $154 difference, right? So they introduced the big bread maker, thinking they would get a new market, right? A new adjacent market, the luxury market. What happened was unintended, and that is they doubled the sales of the smaller one. Now think about, why did that happen? Because when there was one bread maker, people go, is that worth that much money? I don't have anything to compare it to. But as soon as Sonoma put a bigger bread maker, now the person asks a different question. Is this worth $154 more? You know what? Let me just go with the smaller one because I'm not sure. And that's how your brain works. Your brain is a risk mitigating machine. It's always trying to mitigate risk. So when you got two options, it always goes for the one, it defaults to the smaller one, and maybe later I'll upgrade. Especially if we're trying to just build trust with the customer. Customers will lean that way. Now, if you want to move up market, you grade three options, right? And what happens? Our brain, again, is mitigating risk. It'll go too big, too small, just right. It's like the Goldilocks effect, right? Too cold, too hot, just right. It always works that way. So using options is very powerful. If you don't believe me, go to Starbucks, go to Wendy's, go to Burger King, McDonald's. You always get three options the nicest bundle is always the one in the middle.
Yeah, and I think particularly with what these folks do, I think they work their tails off to get appointments, right? This is a true hunter position, right? Even the luckiest folks on the call may get 10, 12 leads a month, where folks call us to say, come on out and give me a price. That's pretty rare in this business. Where on the flip side of our residential side, we get a lot of calls in, right? So there's a lot of people coming to us. This, they hunt. They hunt. They work their tails off to get an appointment. They work their way through it. And I think once they secure that appointment, sometimes I've seen and had conversations with account managers to where they just want to try to get that first little piece, right? So if I got a chance to get in and get an audience and kind of go in and kick the tires, I'm just going to go after the general pest control right now to get my foot in the door, and I'll come back and I'll get the fly service later. I'll get the small fly. I'll get the mosquito. I'll get the exclusion. I'll add all those pieces after I get the little foot in the door. And I think they're cheating themselves. Talk a little bit about that.
I think they're cheating themselves. I think you're scared. I think you're scared, right? Because you might lose a deal if you present something bigger. It's interesting how when we want to go after a deal, we think that the best way to approach it is always to go with the safest option. So let me shift your paradigm, because sometimes you're buying with your pocket, not with the customer's. Let me say that again so you'll get it. Too often we buy with our own pocket, like, what would I do, right? Well, it's not what you would do, it's what they should do. Now, if you really cared about your customers, then you shouldn't hesitate to put every option you believe, strongly believe, is in their best interest. So if you know they need pest control, flies,
fly,
mosquitoes,
large fly.
whatever it may be, and you know they're having problems, I'm going to use a legal term here. It is your fiduciary responsibility. Man, that's $20 right there. Fiduciary responsibility to actually share that information with them. Think about that. And I think a lot of people think, if I just go low, and then maybe I'll just sell that for now. But think about this for a second. Think about this. What differentiates you? If you sell the basic product, there's a lot of other companies that sell the basic product, which means you've just commoditized yourself. Now, when you bundle, now you're offering a solution. Now you have some differentiation in the market, so to speak, or in the customer's eyes. But if you just sell the basic, you're actually leaving the door open for a competitor to come in and swoop in, because you're not offering the full plate of what Orkin has to offer.
Yeah, and again, I think there's something to that when I think there's a bunch of veterans on the call here, right? And I've been put in that spot where I didn't sell or offer all the bundles up front, and it comes springtime or it comes summertime or come fall, and they end up with flies, and I go back and I say, hey, we need a little more money, Bubba, because you got flies. And they just completely flip out. Why didn't you tell me about that the first time? So again,
that's a big one.
And that's tough to overcome. We get that all the time. Why didn't you tell me about that before? So again, the idea is to convince you to push it all out there and not use your wallet, but then just push it out and tell them what they want to take away. It gives you somewhere to go if they say, oh man, that's more than I expected to pay. Well, Victor, which one of these do you want to take away?
Yep.
Rather than saying, well, let me call my boss and see if I can get you $10 off a month.
Right.
Then you drop your price and you lose all kind of credibility,
Yep.
right?
The discount spiral happens.
Push it across and say, okay, well, I'll take out the mosquito. Okay, I'll wait on the mosquito. I'll wait on the fly.
Right.
Let them own the decision. So
Yeah.
it's theirs, not yours.
Yeah, and by the way, the other approach is that if you fully load, a proposal, you put everything in there. What Ed is saying, as opposed to presenting 3 options, another way is to do is a fully loaded proposal. And then when they say, whoa, that's more than I expected to pay, then you turn the sheet of paper around, you slide it back over, hand them a red pen, red is always good, red, and let them cross out what they don't want. And what happens typically is they'll cross out a few things. It does 2 things. One is when they're crossing things out, it causes brain pain because they're having to give something up, right? But the other thing you've done is that you let them know you're in control of how much you're going to pay. And when you hand over that control, you actually gain control, if that makes sense. A paradox, but there it is.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see happen, and I think it resonates both residentially and commercially, when you start pitching everything, your average deal size goes up, right? So they may not buy the whole thing. They may buy the whole thing, right? Dennis Gansert, I think he's on the call. Like, I love seeing his proposals. Brady will kind of reaffirm this. He pitches everything to everybody. The kitchen sink comes out, right? He's talking about the air fresheners, the auto flushes. He puts it all on the table.
But can I ask a question, though?
Sometimes, go ahead.
As he's doing that, it would be good to know, because we don't want to give the wrong visual here, like you just grab a bucket of features and just go wham, there you go. It's like, I'm sure that he's probably sequencing this thing as he's talking about, here's why you need this, because of this, here's where this fits, and just laying that all out and just drawing a mosaic, so to speak, of why you need all these pieces.
And I think that's an important point. Our managers have been saying bundle, bundle, bundle. Bundling is not piling up services and dumping a bucket.
Right.
You bundle with solutions, right? You tie all the solutions in. The reason you need mosquito on the outside, the reason you need some of this exclusion work, the reason you need this, all ties into the whole package. So the solution selling is not bundling. We don't want to just stack up products, I guess.
Well, that's what I mean. I think if you really care about, your customer, you're sitting there. Remember, if you think about what trust is, this is like my formula for trust. So my formula is very simple. 1 is you take their point of view. You try to be empathetic with what they're going through. Number 2, you add that to, you position yourself as a subject matter expert. That means they kind of trust you because you know what you're talking about. But the third component is always the most important to me, is that you have their best interest in mind. And that's important. What you're saying is, you have to be that person, because the data's now showing this, that people who know how to basically Sherpa somebody down. In other words, guide them through a decision-making process, and even say to them, and I know you guys have done this, no, you don't really need that right now. I wouldn't recommend this, but I would recommend this. It is that type of guidance that people are looking for. So again, take their point of view, demonstrate you're a subject matter expert, and have their best interest in mind. And I think that builds trust.
Amen.
Yep.
My motor gets going when we start talking about this stuff because it's like I just want to throw so much at them, but I got to remember we just got to skip a stone. Let's
That's right.
do the
Got to
work.
pull back. Got to pull back.
I do want to skip one more stone real quick.
All right.
So I jumped into the Sales Velocity Academy last night. Like I said, and Victor said, you really do watch that stuff? And yes, I do.
You did say a couple of things that was pretty impressive this morning. I was like, there were some subtleties you picked up on. Well done, man.
So I got into the segment that was on customer brain, and I think there's 12 or 14 videos on there, and I would recommend, obviously blocking objections and then the credibility gap first.
Yep.
But jump into that customer brain, and this is one that I think is really prevalent for our commercial folks because we get a whole bunch of proposals out there that either go radio silent, they go dead, they don't. We never sell them, right?
Right.
And I think it's that the perceived effort piece in that customer brain piece, understanding, because you get the customer going, yeah, I dig it. That makes a lot of sense. Price is good. I'm all in. You go back, you tell your boss, this one's going to close in a week, boss.
Right.
And then nothing.
Right.
Nothing happens. And when I watch that perceived effort, you kind of realize that it's going on, but I think it's important to talk about. That's another piece that they can say yes to everything, but if we don't understand that as the sales rep, we're never going to close that deal.
Yeah, it's when people leave the room, for example, let's say you've done the presentation, you leave the room, and whether you're talking to one decision maker, two or three, doesn't matter. What's going to happen is like, you know what? Love Shane's presentation. I love, Orchid. We trust the brand, but the killer of all deals. But that means we have to do this. Well, that's also going to mean we're going to have to do that. I don't know if we have. Can we do that? What about legal? What does legal say? Can we change over to that? What about the contract? They got all these, reasons why they don't want to switch over. And so what happens is this perceived effort becomes very big, and in some cases, it's almost imagined. They think it's worse than what it is. Right? I use this story about I had a drip, Ed. It was like I heard this drip from my office, backs up to the bathroom, right? And I hear this and it was like, I went to investigate. It was a drip. Short story. I look at it and it's dripping, and I decided to put a bucket of, under it so I didn't have to bowl, right? So it would just drip in. And the drip kept getting faster, so forth. Put a bigger bucket. Finally, I had to fix it. I got around to fixing it, and it took me less than 5 minutes to fix it. And the only thing that came in my head was like, why did I wait so long to fix this thing? Because in my mind, the perceived effort of working on that plumbing scared me. The imagined fear. Now, how does this tie to you? When we're selling a deal, a lot of reason the deal goes silent has nothing to do with the customer saying we need to do something. They probably go, check, we need to do something, right? What they're saying is, how much of a hassle is this going to be? How much work is going to be required? Do we have to shut the plant down? Do we have to do this? And unless you answer those, reduce that mental friction, they're always going to have a reason for not wanting to move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's really prevalent with these folks when you talk about changing pest control vendors, right? It's cumbersome, right? So they're digging it. They love the price. They love everything. They know they need to change. They know they can get it better from us. But then they look back. They go, oh my God, we got to get a new guy or a new gal in here. I got to introduce the tech. The people are somewhat comfortable with this cat that's walking around right now. Everybody likes him. Might have to do a new W-9. I got to walk this guy through. We got to break another pest control guy in. Right. And then all the headaches that are going to come with this. Can I get out of my current contract? What if it gets worse? What if it doesn't get any better? All these things kind of, as Victor says, they kind of sit below the iceberg. Yeah. The top stuff is the service, the offer, the solution, the price. That's the top stuff. That's the easy stuff that they can say yes to, but you still don't get the complete yes and the line that is dotted signature until you kind of cover that. And I think it's important that you, as the sales rep, walk them through those things. Hey, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to come out and introduce you to the new tech. I'm going to walk him through this facility and figure out ways you can overcome that. I'll take care of the W-9. I'll help you write the cancellation letter for your current customer. That's the stuff that the Orkin pros, the cats that are knocking down $15K a month, are kind of cognizant of going in, and you address it during your proposal. Orkin understands it's difficult to change vendors, right? It's not easy. That's what's so cool about our triple guarantee. Yeah. We take all the risk away. We take it all on ourselves. If you're not completely satisfied with our service and the results that service renders, at the end of 60 days, we're going to do something unheard of in the industry. We will give you all your money back, Victor.
Right.
And we will pay you to bring the other company back in.
See, in that pitch alone, he applied like 3 different concepts. The first one is you block the objection, which is you're saying to the customer, hey, we know you're worried about this. That's the first thing he did. Then Ed did something, again, that most of you guys do that's genius, is you map out what's going to happen. Believe it or not, that reduces that anxiety that the customer has. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to introduce the tech, we're going to walk them around, whatever may, break them in, right? And then the third part, what did you just close out with? It was great.
We'll give you all your money back. We're going to take the risk.
Right, so that's called de-risking. So in other words, once you de-risk something, that moves the deal forward. So if you join me in the masterclass tomorrow, again, it's no cost to you, so there's no reason you shouldn't be on there. We're going to talk about de-risking and keeping deals moving.
Yeah.
Well done, Ed. On the fly. Well done.
Well,
done.
that's
Look
practice.
Well
That's the
done.
triple guarantee. If y'all haven't figured it out, I can go on and on with that. How about we're 40 minutes in.
Oh my God.
Let's do a little bit of housekeeping if you're cool with that.
Good.
So the first thing, last month we talked about the Hilton Supply Management. Eric Hardaway and you folks out there have had some really great success chasing down those Hilton properties. Thousands of properties you can chase down with that endorsement letter. If you've not jumped into that, get after it. The newest one that hit the National Preferred Vendor list is one that was just put up last week, and it's HPS. It's a set of healthcare, senior living facilities, and a lot of school systems. And all you got to do is just go on to My Rollins and type in HPS, and it will pop all this stuff up. Tells you exactly how to communicate. All you need to do is send an email to the HPS representative for that area, and ask them. And the language is all in there. All the lists are there. All the zip code lists, phone numbers, emails, contacts. Robert Bisa has that teed up to where it's flawless. All you have to do is go execute on it. It's got all the pricing, the entire scope of service. It's even got the bird pricing in here. It's got the bed bug pricing in here. Super simple, 3,100 locations. You can't see these. It's got a super duper endorsement letter. I'll just read you the first line. This letter is to advise you that HPS has a contract with Orkin. We are the sole source provider for HPS. We're the only one that is endorsed provider. Now they have, of their 3,100 locations, they probably have 1,000 different pest control suppliers. But you cats can walk in and hit the door and saying, we're endorsed by HPS. So you got that. You got some really cool flyers. Get the best provider for pest control for your education facility. Those are all ready made. For your senior living facility, just buttoned up super tight. Just super tight. I mean, just super cool. There was also something on the Advantage blog, the last post about using LinkedIn. And Victor said he's starting to see the LinkedIn posts that the Orkin marketing team's putting out. Every Tuesday through Thursday, they're posting some content. Please share that with your contact group so you can kind of get the name out there. I'm starting to see a bunch of them too.
Yep.
I'm not active on LinkedIn because I get chased by too many people wanting jobs, but I do kind of creep, I guess.
I got you.
And I'll just leave it at that. I'll have the account manager President's Club standings kind of get out to you either tonight or tomorrow. So we'll get those out. And again, I guess the last thing is that masterclass, getting deals unstuck, we have more deals stuck than we get sold.
Right.
When we think about what happens to our folks, other than the leads, the folks that call in, our creative proposals, self-generated proposals, close about 25%. 75% of them don't buy. So
Gotcha.
that will help you. I mean,
By the way, they suffer from forecastination. That's my new word, forecastination. And that means something that's been forecasted, you know it's not going to close, but you procrastinated from taking it out of the pipeline. Forecastination. I made that up, Ed.
I think I still got some
made that up, man.
forecastination jobs in my pipeline from like 20 years ago up in Ohio.
Oh, before I forget, we got Calvin has a good question here. By the way, we see all the comments. Ken's go through them. Calvin Kolazar, if I get that right. How can I get access to these episodes? How do they get access to these episodes?
So if you don't have access to the Sales Velocity Academy and you're on this call, put your email address in the chat and I will make sure we get that fixed. We're working through
I think he's
getting
talking
that
about
fixed.
this recording.
Oh, that'll come out in my overnight emails. It won't come out tonight or tomorrow. Aubrey's out of town until we get it kind of edited out. It'll probably be first part of Monday and I'll send it out.
All right.
Brian McDermott had a great one in here for him talking about using vendors. He goes, he's in Dallas now. I used to even use Tony Romo needs a backup, but now I say even Dirk Prescott needs a backup. Using something that's local. Again, analogy, story selling.
Everything
Hey,
works.
Tony Romo needs a backup. You should have a backup. Who's your backup? And they never have one. What else? Anything else we should?
A lot of good stuff here. Jared said, fun fact, Wendy introduced the triple burger, knowing they wouldn't sell many, but it would discourage customers to move from the single to the double. That's absolutely correct. They estimate that about 20% of the people always buy the most expensive one. These are the status buyers, the luxury buyers, always buy the most expensive one, which is why when you do the triple option, you're gonna get some takers on that. And you guys tell me if you think 20% when you offer a triple option is a good number for you guys. What else? Sean said, don't be safe in sales. It's their money, not yours. Yeah, my man. What do you got?
I think I got a lot of them in here. Dennis confirmed what he was talking about, that he pitches everything and explains it.
Yep. Roxanne says, confidence in the solution bundles you are presenting, which is what sets you apart and puts the buyer at ease. Know your products, know your service. Well done, Roxanne.
Let them build their own services. Digging it.
Yep. Bundle with purpose. And we should get a shirt that says that. M. Garcia said that. Bundle with purpose, baby.
There you
We can
go.
throw in the baby at the bottom if you guys don't mind. Just say bundle with service. Bundle with purpose, baby. Bundle with purpose.
All right, we're getting silly. It's time to get out of here.
Let's get out of here, man.
Hey, we appreciate y'all. Remember, there's a $100 gift card on the line if you get to that 85K.
Wow.
And
What if they get to 100K? Is there like a little more money there? I mean, $100, I mean, it's nice, but
well,
doesn't move my needle.
Maybe $100.
a little more. Just crack open the wallet, man. Give them a little more. Just give them a little more tastes.
Maybe
A little sabor, if you
maybe
don't
a
mind.
$100 gift card for an 85K month where they're making 15 grand doesn't mean a lot.
But
it comes from me,
It's
Victor.
the
It's
gesture, man. It's the love that you're showing my people out here. I'm just saying, you need to crack the wallet open on $100. That's all I'm saying. That.
All right, so here's the deal: 85K, $100.
Okay.
You pop over 100. I can't believe I'm paying you to come here and talk to these people, and you're making me give money away. You break the $100,000 mark, it'll be $200.
Oh, dude, I thought you were going to go for 500.
No. And Gordon, you need to write that down and remind me, because I will surely forget.
250. I got you some money, baby. I got you some money, baby.
And look at McDermott. He's smiling there because he already knows he's got a $70,000 start going down this month. That's not even fair.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Appreciate y'all. I just can't impress upon you enough how well you're doing. Let's keep rocking it. Keep rocking it.
Great numbers. Congratulations, guys.
Amen. We're out. See y'all.
Take care, guys.